Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and I wanted to talk about how synesthesia can affect decisions. And the reason that I'm doing this video is because I myself have synesthesia, which means that I couple senses with other senses. It has been less the case when I took antidepressants. For some reason, it kind of disappeared. And also as I grow up, as I grow older, I feel less of a connection to my synesthesia stuff. But that's very individual. I made a video at the beginning of this channel where I talked about synesthesia, particularly personality color synesthesia. So the people that I meet, people color, like people have a certain color in my mind when I think about them. And sometimes it's easy enough, like, oh, this person always has a blue shirt, so he's blue. But sometimes I don't really know where I get the colors from, you know? And sometimes it is because of a personality trait that they have, or sometimes it's just pretty random and I have a hard time changing it. Sometimes it changes. Sometimes people gain more colors. People, once I start getting to know them in 3D, you could say. So I have a personality color. I also have number color and days of the week color. And I associate also letters and words with colors. I have other things that are associated to other things than color. When I was small, I associated different tastes with color, and I associated certain musical instruments with colors. I don't have that much of that now. And I wish that I associated like notes, like musical notes to color. That would be really cool. But unfortunately I don't have that. What I do have though is certain musical instruments, like string instruments are like brownish orange, and I guess that's because I related to the violin and the wood. But that's even if I don't look at the instruments, And percussions are usually red or dark blue, depending on my mood, I guess, I don't know. And the clarinet and those kinds of winds are usually like dark blue. And I do have certain color that is associated to sound. I think when I was little, I would also associate colors to tastes or to smells, because I do have a vivid memory of like my aunt's house. It's my favorite smell in the world. I don't know what it is that she cleans her house with, but it was like the color of a bright blue sky or of a like lagoon sea. So I remember that smelled like a certain color. Nowadays I don't really have that, but I still do have the color for words, letters, days of the week, and numbers. I also associate personalities to numbers, and I associate personality kind of to certain letters. And they've always been that way, and it's like they won't change. The numbers and the letters are pretty much the same. Sometimes they might veer towards a certain other color as I grow up. And certain things you can couple to, like, okay, this is the way that you learned about a certain color, and that's why, or a certain letter or something, and that's why they become that letter. So a lot of English speakers and speakers of other languages as well have A is for apple. And so that's why most apples are red and most people associate A with red. But there are people who are synesthetes who don't associate A with red. So I associate A with like a dark orange, which kind of is like A is also for autumn. I didn't call it fall when I grew up because I grew up in France, so it's kind of like fall colors to me. And B is for blue, you know, so for me B is blue, and C is for me it was for lemon, citron, or citron. And L is also yellow for me. I don't know if it's because of lemons or if it's because of something else. So for me, there are certain things that are like, okay, I understand where that color comes from. But you know, the word for apple in French is pomme. So peas should be red or green or some other color that apples can be. But pea is actually dark blue in my mind. And I don't know why it's dark blue. You know, it's always been that way. So some things just don't have an explanation. Anyway, I was reminded of this because I went to see a concert with my ENFJ friend a few months ago, and apparently the composer Mission, I think is actually the name that you're supposed to say it, was a synesthete. He wrote music for God, but so he wanted to take in all of the godly synesthesic things. So he made music that was based on the colors that he wanted to portray. But the thing is, one synesthete's colors are a different color for another synesthete. So the colors that he imagined in his mind for the different notes are not the same colors as for me. So it clashes sometimes. So for me, if I see words on the wall that are a certain color that they're not supposed to be, like in my mind, then it just feels weird, you know? I'm used to it because it's not like, you know, I can live in the world. But it does kind of irk me if people associate a certain color for a certain day of the week that isn't the color of how I associate those days of the week. Like if somebody makes their timetable, like they have the timetable and they put everything on, like they put at the top that Wednesday is blue, you know? And to me, Wednesday is yellow, and that's always been yellow. Mondays are always yellow as well, except like a paler yellow. I can see, sometimes I think of Wednesdays as red, but never blue. Like it's never blue. And so I will get really irked inside, like something is not right, something does not feel good. And so, yeah, I get irked by certain letters not being the right color either. I'm the kind of synesthesia person who has like the milder form of synesthesia, you could say. Not the milder form, but like the least cool form. Like I have the associative type, so I associate color to letters. But the more cool kind of synesthesia, but the one that would like affect you more deeply, is the projection type of synesthesia, where you actually see an overlay of that certain color when you read the letters. So for me, okay, I associate A with red, but it's not like when I see the letter A that it automatically becomes red. I can do that if that's the point of the exercise. So there is a test to see if you are good at pattern recognition. That is like basically a bunch of fives and then they're like number 2 in that picture. And then and it's because 5 and 2 kind of look like each other but backwards. A regular person who does not have synesthesia for numbers will have a hard time picking out which one is a 2. But if you have synesthesia for the numbers, then you will automatically see certain of those figures are a certain color that doesn't fit. So for me, 2s are orange and 5s are dark blue. And so I can see those 2s really pop out from the 5s. And I think there's like a certain pattern recognition that for some reason I developed, like I have, and some people have other kinds of pattern recognition. But for me, it's linked to my synesthesia. So that's nice to have that way of doing things, but it can also lead to problems. And what happened is that I don't have Wi-Fi in my home right now, and I wanted the Wi-Fi to activate on the 1st of June. So also in Europe, in most places around the world, except for in the US, you have the month after the date. You have the date, and then you have the month. In Sweden, you can do it kind of like year, month, date. In France, it's usually date, month, year. But in the US, you kind of have a mixed match, right? Where you have like year, like you have month, day, year, which like doesn't really make sense. But that's the way things are. But so I wanted to get my Wi-Fi the 1st of the 6th. And instead I got the 6th of the 6th. So I must have pushed it wrong. The 6th of June. And the reason for that mix-up is because for me, 1s and 6s, they don't have the same color, but they have the same personality. They're kind of both pretty congenial, like nice types of numbers, I guess. And they're both male in my head. I also assign genders to numbers, which like, not very progressive of my brain, I guess. But for me, 1s and 6s are male, and they both are pretty nice people, 1 is younger than 6 because it's smaller, but that doesn't make sense because my 9s are actually pretty young as well. So my 9s are purple, and it's a girl. And it's like, I sound like a crazy person if somebody doesn't experience this themselves. But it's a very easy mistake for me to mix up 1s and 6s. It's also a very big mistake that I often do, that I mix up 2 with 4 because they're both orange. And I mix up Wednesdays with Mondays because both are yellow. And so sometimes, like, for some reason, certain connections are more readily made than others. And for me, like, Tuesdays and Thursdays are both different shades of orange. But Thursdays are sometimes dark blue green. I don't know why. And I don't know why, because none of the letters of Tuesday and Thursday actually are. Like the U is red, or orange is red. So maybe Tuesday and Thursday both have U in it, and that's why they're both orange. But T is dark blue, so that makes no sense. Fridays are always dark green. And that's the way it's always been in my head, Saturdays are purple or red, depending on how I feel on that day, I don't know. and Sundays are usually black. Yeah, they're black. I wish that they could be like a cool color like rainbow, but no, they're black. And most vowels for me are on the red, orange, yellow spectrum. So O's are red, A's are dark orange, U are dark orange, so they're kind of similar. Except that there's also the fact that I have textures for certain letters. Like for me, the U feels more rough and the A seems less rough. Like kind of the U is kind of like a sandpaper kind of feel. Then the I's are yellow. And that's why Ingrid, I am yellow, right? Because my name starts with I. I'm yellow with a tinge of pink in my mind, you know. But sometimes I see other colors. I've seen every single color in myself because I am me. So I see everything. But if I were to like present myself to another person, I feel like a yellow and pinkish person. And that's how I've always seen my name and my exterior, the core of myself, you could say. Or not the core, like the shell of myself. Inside I have a lot of other colors that are mixed and matched. But so, okay, so that's one problem that happens, is that I mix up different colors, different days, different... Somehow it only goes in one way, in one direction, where everything is associated with the color, but colors aren't associated with letters or numbers, you know? It goes in one direction. But yeah, so I do have textures for letters. Have we gone through all of the vowels? E is a light orange. So A, E, I, O, U, and Y. Y is a special because it's a vowel, but it's also a consonant. So it's actually like purplish gray, like silvery color. A little bit holographic. So Y is a specific one. But then we've gone through all of the vowels. Well, the consonants are usually darker colors, like dark blue or dark green, or completely other colors. Like N is like magenta, Bordeaux pink, pinkish purple, you could say. And yeah, so that was my whole blah blah about synesthesia. But the reason that I'm talking about this today is because I was reading the book Untypical by Pete Warmby about autism. He's a professor, and he studied at in his hometown because he was bright and he could go to Oxford or Cambridge. And so he had to apply to these places. And the reason that he applied to Cambridge and not to Oxford at first is because Oxford had weird vibes, basically. It had a weird color. And I feel exactly the same. Because if I were to choose between Oxford and Cambridge, which I did, my English teachers seemed to think that they asked me if I wanted to apply because they have connection with how the British system works. So I could have applied to go to Cambridge or Oxford, but I chose Cambridge. And the reason for that was purely because of synesthesia rather than choosing Oxford. Because Oxford, the name, the word sounds bad. Basically, the O is bright red and the F is dark green. and together that did not go well together, and it sounded awful and it looked awful. Well, Cambridge was like a nice light blue, and so that's why I chose. If I were to apply, I would have applied to Cambridge. I did not, because I realized that that wasn't my place, really. Like going to a prestigious university in England when I didn't have a connection to England was not really a choice that resonated with me. I did apply. I applied to York, and I applied to UCL because they had a good medical, like biomedical department. I applied to Durham as well. And the thing is, I realized that a lot of it had to do with the name of the place. York for me is dark blue, as well as Durham is dark blue. And, you know, I've never been to these places. So I was kind of doing it blindly. I could, of course, Google things and look the places up. But all these places have like old stone and, you know, are old prestigious universities. And yeah, I did not end up going to any of those places. But my teachers and my parents and I also thought that it was a good thing to learn how to do an application process, because in France you don't really have to write a personal statement and all that kind of stuff. You just get into the university. I wanted to get this personal statement done so that I could use parts of that in order to then maybe apply to other universities, or to it would help me build my CV and such. I did not end up going to England, or to UK or whatever. But it is funny and kind of silly that the reason that I would choose, sorry, it wasn't straight. The reason that I would choose a Cambridge over Oxford is just because of the way that the letters felt right inside me, you know. One of my better friends, who I think is an ENTJ, got into Cambridge and studied biomedicine, biotechnology, and it was really good. But I'm glad I did not go on that route. She was British from the start, so, and you know, I don't want to put myself into environments that have a lot of competition and that kind of thing. I'm glad that I went to Karolinska in Sweden, and that I got to move to Sweden, and all that was great. But it's kind of funny to think that, you know, I was choosing universities based on the colors of their name. So yeah, there are other times where I will mix up people's names because their name is very close to another name that has the same color, or that their personality or the way that they look does not correspond to the name. And I think that a lot of people who don't have synesthesia realize this, that some people have names that don't match the person. But for me, it's specifically because the color of their personality and the color of their name does not match, you know? So, I mean, let's take an example from the people around. It seems like for me, a lot of the INFPs on YouTube are dark blue. But for example, Pete is, for Rondo Pete, is a dark blue. But I find like sometimes I think that the personality that's behind there is dark green and with some red. And it's like, well, sometimes it doesn't really go together, but it somehow works, you know? A lot of these color combinations don't work in real life, but they work in my head. It's kind of like these overlays and weird shapes, and somehow certain color combinations go better in my head than in real life. I think that D from other INFP insights is light blue, and somehow the name D also is light blue, so that works out perfect, you know, because the letter D is light blue. I don't know if it's because of dolphins that it's light blue. I like dolphins. And maybe I learned the letter D because D was for dolphin, but that's why D is, D's name is pretty, is one syllable, you know. And yeah, there's certain people that we don't know the name of, and they shall stay that way. But you know, I think that it's pretty satisfactory in my that people have names that fit their colors. And I was telling my best friend, because I bought this sofa and it was the first time that he'd seen the sofa. My ISFJ best friend, he's dark green and he's the color of the sofa. And he was like, isn't it weird? You know, isn't it weird that I chose a sofa that's the color of my best friend? I don't know, it's because this is a comforting color to me, you know. Dark green is kind of a stable and comforting color. And so that's why Vanderpeet is dark green. Like, my best friend is also dark green. And my sofa is dark green. So, yeah, I don't know, I kind of felt like connected to this color. I don't have any dark green inside of me because I am in no way a calming presence. Or like, I'm not a stable person. But that's why I needed to introduce some dark green into my life. So even if I am not dark green, I can have some dark green in my house. If my house has too much yellow, then I need something to counteract my yellow, you know. It's weird kind of feng shui stuff that goes on with my brain and my outside environment, and also the people around me. So yeah, this was a very long video. I'm waiting for the Wi-Fi to be able to call the Wi-Fi people, but I hope that it works, even though I chose the wrong date on the activation of my Wi-Fi. But yeah, have a great day, everybody. Bye.